Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to Test Tube Plus again. I am Trace. This is our final episode, episode 5 in our series on conspiracies. It's been an awesome series so far. Make sure you subscribe so that you get all of our episodes. And if you haven't watched them, go back and check those out too. We've talked a lot about what makes a compelling conspiracy theory and which ones have been true or false and why people are obsessed with like a super elite group of people running the world like the Illuminati. I know why we're obsessed with a super elite group of people running the world. Because we elect a super elite group of people to run the world. I mean, a group of super elite may actually already do that. Not in a conspiracy way, but it's just a system that we have. We happen to elect a lot of people from what you could call the elite class of society. Why do we do that? Because it takes money to run for office, and many people spend their own. In 2012, more than half of Congress had a net worth of $1 million or more. It takes access to even consider running for political office. And once you're above a certain level, you can have that access. If your dad's a policeman, you can envision being police chief one day. Or you can even envision, running for local government because you're used to working in the city. If your dad's a senator or a congressman, then you can envision running for president one day, or being a senator or a congressman. And if your dad's the president, then you can definitely envision it, right? We start at a certain level. This is something that isn't even fathomable for a lot of people. 4 presidents were family relatives of previous presidents. Others are from business dynasties in like American royalty, like JFK. Even George Washington was one of the wealthiest men in the United States when he was elected to his office as president. He had a net worth of $525 million if you adjust into 2010 money, putting him only behind Kennedy in terms of wealth out of all presidents. Thomas Jefferson, he was the 3rd richest. He made most of his money via plantations. Tobacco, it's a cash crop. Also, nepotism is a real thing. The New York Times wrote an article that predicts the odds for sons who were born during the baby boom era of being some kind of American heir in business. And this is what they found. 1 in 9 billionaires follow their father's footsteps and become billionaires, compared to 1 in 258,141. That's the average for everybody else. 1 in 47 sons of senators followed in their father's footsteps versus 1 in 398,197 for everybody else. And 1 in 51 sons of governors followed in their father's footsteps versus 1 in 306,807. That's pretty rare for regular people. But if your dad's a governor, you're probably going to be a governor. 1 in 51 chance. There's also a dark side to all of this. Nepotism is a prominent part of society and a huge player in the world of corruption. Data was limited to Canadian males in this study, but it was done in the Journal of Labor Economics, and it showed that 68% of the 1%ers, their sons work at their dad's company. Corruption in business and politics has happened forever. This is not a new thing that's just suddenly sprung into existence. During U.S. President Warren G. Harding's time in office, Interior Secretary Albert Fall accepted a bribe of over $400,000 from Mammoth Oil and Pan American Petroleum for a special lease on precious oil reserves. Senator Ted Kennedy, he literally killed someone in 1969. Perhaps you've heard of Chappaquiddick. He drove his car off a bridge, killing his passenger, and failed to report the incident for 9 hours. He faced no charges. If he was from a different family, how would that have worked out? I mean, it's hard to say. He's a Kennedy, so the rules are different. If you assume there isn't an elite class, you just have to look around you. I mean, if I shot a dude in the face while hunting, would I be in jail right now? Probably. Plus, relative to conspiracies, political money is something that gets almost no attention, but should get a lot of it. Private donors and money are huge influences over our political system, and a lot of it is a mystery. There are PACs and super PACs, there's lobbying and who's hired who to represent what and say to whom, how, and get favors. I mean, lobbying's been around forever. But in the wake of current Supreme Court decisions, things like super PACs and lobbying have gone through the roof, and they're not always followed up. So conspiracy people, Point your lenses at that. The fact is, we are a capitalist system, and the more capital you have, the more access to stuff you get and more control over things that you acquire. I'll give you an example. Bill Gates is putting $3 billion into renewable energy. That's great. I'm a big fan of renewable energy. But does that mean he gets to control a big chunk of our energy sector? Maybe. It's hard to say. We've chosen to live in a system where we give a few people enormous amounts of power. There are checks and balances, but right now, the president and his advisors are the most powerful people in the world. That group, very powerful. Do you know what they did today? Do you know how many secret meetings they had? Do you know what they talked about? The U.S. military spent $664 billion in 2010 on defense. But they don't have to tell you what all those things are. We have one guy at the head of all that, and a handful of people just under that who are called the Joint Chiefs. That's like 7 people. It's crazy. They control all of that stuff. The whole Catholic Church is headed up by one dude. I mean, there are allegedly 1 billion Catholics on earth, and one guy can tell them all about their faith. I ain't talking about God. I'm talking about one dude. And all these people know each other, and they all are above that line where they have access to each other. If the Pope wants to call the president, he can do it, and vice versa. So can Bill Gates, although, he might have to make an appointment, maybe. And on these calls, what are they talking about? Are they coordinating things? Are they making plans? Are they conspiring? Who knows? Although I guess if I called the president, I'd probably have like a plan, where I would talk about a plan, make plans, coffee or paintball or something on the weekend. I mean, whatever. You don't call the president without having a plan. My point is, how are any of these scenarios different than the Illuminati? It's not that different, is it? But it does seem less scary, maybe because they're doing it right in front of us. I mean, I don't believe that Bill Gates or the Pope, or the elected officials are truly out to get us. I don't think. Plus, we usually want these people to be doing these things. We're a republic. We elect people to make decisions, and not everybody wants to be the gal at the top. But of course, the best place to hide is in plain sight. So if they were going to conspire, they probably could. And if these same people are meeting once a year in the woods to pray naked to an owl god, I'm just against it. I want to say that. I want to put that out there. Not okay with it. I hope you feel like you understand conspiracy theories a little better now after this, but don't, take my word for it. Get down in the comments and talk to each other about it. Make sure you subscribe for more Test Tube Plus, and make sure that you watch all 5 of the episodes on conspiracies if you haven't already. And in our next series, we're bringing back my buddy, Dr. Ian O'Neill, astrophysicist, and we're going to talk about one of my favorite things and his favorite things in all of space, black holes. Thanks for tuning in to Test Tube Plus. Come find me on Twitter if you have any questions or you want to talk about whatever. I'm at Trace Dominguez.